Hello and welcome to today's Oxygen XML live event. My name is Alim Belu and I will be your host for the Introducing Oxygen Content Fusion 6 beta webinar. With the release of the beta version of Oxygen Content Fusion 6, we aimed to enhance the DITA documentation review and publishing processes for our advanced online collaboration platform. So as we approach the full release and highly value your feedback, we created today's exclusive webinar to invite you to actively participate in shaping the final version of Oxygen Content Fusion 6, because your insights will play a crucial role in refining this cutting-edge collaboration platform. Thus, during today's event, my colleague, Christian Talot, the project manager of Oxygen Content Fusion, will show you the significant improvements and features of the beta release for Content Fusion 6. Needless to say that we have a great showcase for you in this following hour. Before we get started, let me tell you some information that you need to know about today's live event. This webinar is being recorded as we speak. After the event comes to an end, the recording will be made available tomorrow on the event page on our site, oxygenxml.com, along with Christian's presentation slides and samples. And also the recording will be uploaded on our YouTube channel titled Oxygen XML that some of you might be accustomed with by now. And if not, I always encourage you to take a look at it afterwards and see for yourself the impressive library of tutorials that are available there. Another important aspect that we care about is that as we go along, we encourage you to ask us questions by using the questions panel from the GoToWebinar interface, where our colleague Mihai Kwanda will assist us by answering to all of your questions in real time. And of course, we will be addressing those questions again at the end in a Q&A session, along with the latest entries for the benefit of everyone joining us today. Now, it's time for the moment that we all were waiting for. So let us welcome Christian Talot to the virtual stage. Hi, Christian.
Hello, everyone. So today I will present you the Content Fusion 6 beta version that was released a couple of weeks ago. There are some big changes in this version 6 of Content Fusion and some exciting new features, and we decided to make a beta release several months before the full release in order to be able to receive feedback from you and address it until the full release. So it is very important for us that you ask questions and send us feedback related to these features. And it is also important for you because you still have a chance to have your use case covered until the full release, which will be in at the end of October. So in today's presentation, I will talk to you first about some UI facelift that we implemented in version 6 of Content Fusion. Then I will give you a brief overview of the project's feature that was introduced in this version. Then I will present the changes that were made to the review task workflow. Then a bit about some new user roles that were added to the platform. And at the end, we'll come again to the project's feature and we will go into more details regarding interoperability with other tools, integration with Git, about the DITA project that this project's feature is based on, and also about the publishing support that was added in this new version. So speaking of the UI facelift, one of the big changes is that we try to make the navigation between various views much simpler. For example, this is the view that presents a review task, And we have this navigation rail in which you can go to different sections of the review task. There is also a breadcrumb here that can be used to navigate, for example, to the task list. There is also a button on the toolbar that helps you quickly go to the list of the review tasks that you are involved in. We separated the tasks that are owned by me and that are assigned by me in two different tabs, and we also kept this filter that shows finalized review tasks. Another change that we made is that for tasks that are owned by me, the share button is more accessible here on the main toolbar, and also the settings, which was before a dialog, it now has its own dedicated page. So these are some of the UI improvements that we made related to review tasks. But besides these UI changes, we implemented some features from that are related to project, in which we introduced new UI elements. So speaking of projects, a project in Content Fusion is basically, so it's imported from a Git repository and automatically synchronized after importing. So if you have a Git repository with your DITA content, you can import it in Content Fusion, and then Content Fusion will keep a local clone that will be updated every time an update is made on the upstream repository. Now I will let my colleague Aline to present you the first poll that we have in this webinar, which is about the place where you store your content. So if it's either Git or a CCMS or something else. Okay, so it seems that 62% of the audience is using Git, 24% is using a CCMS, and 14% is hosting their content somewhere else. That's a good feedback. So the project's feature is currently related to Git projects. So some of you may not fully benefit from this feature. However, Content Fusion will continue to offer the existing functionality in the same way as it was offered in version 5.1, actually with some small improvements. Okay, so that is all about the Git repository support. So if you, in the previous version of Content Fusion, review tasks were recording the history of the suggestions that reviewers made, and this history was stored as a Git, it was stored in a Git repository that you could download from the Git from the Content Fusion server. The problem with this approach is that this history is separate for each review task, and you have to download an archive and to open this archive with a Git client, which may be cumbersome. With this new project's feature, the review tasks are stored as Git branches in your Git repository. So if you inspect the Git history of your repository, you can see all the commits that were made as part of of a review task. For example, I can show you how this looks, how this commit graph looks for a Git repository. For example, here I created a review task, then I made changes to 2 files in the review task, and then in the main repository I updated the README, and then in this commit I integrated the changes made in the review task in the project main branch. Okay, another feature that was enabled by project was to automatically build PDF and web help outputs from the project's default branch. So every time there is a commit on the project default branch, you can configure Content Fusion to generate web help and PDF outputs from your DITA content. They're related to review tasks that we introduced a small workflow for them. In the previous version, review tasks, you would create a review task, you would receive feedback, and then you could choose either to delete the review task or keep it uh, dangling on the Content Fusion server. In this new release, there is a small workflow. So when a review task starts, it is in the in review state, then it goes to review closed state, and then there are 2 more states that are available only for tasks that are created inside the project. This workflow is linear, and you can go backwards and forward and backward through these states. So the first state is in review, is the starting state, which is very similar with how review tasks behaved in version 5.1 of Content Fusion. When you create a review task, the content that is under review comes either from oxygenxml editor by an upload made by a technical writer. For example, I can go here to the to oxygenxml editor and choose a sample project, and here I can select some topic from a DITA map. It asks me whether I want to include the child topics, and I confirm. And here the map is uploaded to the Content Fusion server, and these 3 files that I explicitly selected are marked as files to be reviewed. So this is how review tasks worked in the previous version of Content Fusion. So this works well when you have a moderately big DITA maps. If you have huge DITA projects with several gigabytes of content, it is very time consuming to upload all the required files that you need in order for the users to review your content. So in this new Content Fusion version, the files to be reviewed can be selected from the project branch, which is already on the Content Fusion server. So there is no upload that happens. So this review task creation is very fast. So I can go here to topics, flowers, click add to review task, then select some more flowers to be reviewed, and choose review some flowers description from web interface. And now here I can choose the context publication, which is very similar to the context data map that was used in the oxygenxml editor. So this is the DITA context, which is a DITA map and a DITA val. Here we define the concept of a publication, which groups together the DITA map and DITA val, and you only have to configure it once, and then you can select it from a combo box. So now when I create the review task, there is no upload taking place. It's a very fast operation. And in review state, reviewers will be able to comment and suggest changes as they were able to in the previous Content Fusion version. And in this state, you can go and enable concurrent editing, which makes it possible for multiple reviewers to make suggestions to the same data topic concurrently. Okay. Once a new state that was introduced with this release is the review closed state. In this state, the task owner can choose to close the review for a particular task, and now the reviewers will not be able to make suggestions anymore. So the reviewer now has some time to be alone and to focus on addressing existing feedback. If the owner of the task considers necessary to request more feedback, they can reopen the review task. In this state, it is also useful to open this file, for example, in oxygenxml editor, so that you can use a more powerful editing tool, but you modify the file that resides on the Content Fusion task. So in order to open this file in oxygenxml editor, you have to select the URL here, click copy, here click open URL, paste it, and here it says that the file could not be opened because it's locked in the web browser. It's also locked by myself, so there is no real problem here. So I click cancel and I try again. So now now that I opened the file in this editor, I can use a lot of interesting tools. For example, there is a plugin for oxygenxml editor that contains some veil validation rules that validate the language. You can also use the AI positron plugin that uses artificial intelligence to suggest you fixes, for example, for reviewer comments. And once you make some changes, for example, I delete the modified word from the title, I can save this file and close it, and then the changes will be available in the web browser. So this is a way to use oxygenxml editor to modify files on a review task, but by using all the power of oxygenxml editor. After the feedback is addressed, the task owner can choose to start integrating the review task, which means the task owner wants to bring these changes made on the review task in the project's main branch. This state is available only for projects created from a Git repository, because otherwise there is no integration. For other tasks that are created from a local upload, for example, you can integrate it using let me Let me see. So I go to review tasks, tasks owned by me. So this is a task that was created from the desktop Oxygen application. So if I make here some changes in the desktop application, I can see that there is one file change and click get changes, and here you get a merge tool that helps you merge these changes with your local version of the file. And with a with a project feature, we have the same feature available in the web browser. So if you go here to this task, and if I click start integrating, then it will signal that this chrysanthemum.dita was modified in the review task. I can click on it. It shows me what the difference is. By default, it will automatically merge these changes. If there was a conflict, it will signal this to me and allow me to make some changes in the merge version. And now if I click finish integrating, the changes made on this task will be brought to the project main branch. So if I refresh here, I can see that a new review task is integrated, and this file chrysanthemum.dita was modified as part of this review task. Okay, so when a task is integrated, although in the beta version it is still presented in this task list, in the full release it will be hidden by default. So you will have a toggle button similar to this one that shows tasks that are already integrated. So this way you will be able to focus only on tasks that need some action, like they are in review, or they are review closed and you need to address the feedback, or you are actively integrating these tasks. One detail that I forgot to mention is that when a task is in the integrating state, only the owner of that task will be able to merge it. So if a task can have multiple owners, but if someone starts to merge it, then that person has to finish merging. And if they are not able to, for some reason, they can cancel the integration and let another person start to integrate it. Now let's talk a bit about user roles. So we have a role of a subject matter expert, which has access to the same functionality as in version 5.1. So it can be assigned as a reviewer or even create review tasks. This person can create review tasks both from oxygenxml editor and from the web interface. They can be assigned as reviewers for tasks created inside projects, but they cannot see the project's feature. So here I have the subject matter expert role, so I can only see my review tasks, and that's it. In the other browser, I have the author role, and I can see the project's feature. So I can see the list of projects. I can create new projects. I can create, as I showed you, I can create review tasks inside a project, and I can also configure deliverables, which are published outputs like web help and PDF. Okay, so these roles can be assigned from the administration page of Content Fusion. You will be able to use a combo box to select who is an author and who is subject matter expert. By default, everyone is a subject matter expert, and you have to choose who is author. In terms of licensing, if you have an existing Content Fusion license, the existing users will have the capabilities of SMEs, so they will have the SME role by default, and you can add author seats by switching to a new license format. You can also request a trial to see how this author seats will work. The new license format has a floating license for SMEs, just as before, and it has a name-based licenses for authors. So if you have 5 authors, you will have to assign the author roles for them in the administration page. The pricing, it's still to be decided, but our current plan is to have the same pricing for the SMEs, and each extra author that you add to Content Fusion will have a monthly cost. Okay, so now talking a bit about projects. One interesting topic is interoperability. We wanted to design this feature so that you won't be locked into Content Fusion if you import your projects here. So your project content is standard DITA. So DITA is an OASIS standard. You can use any tool to work with DITA content. Your project history is stored in your Git repository. So you want if you want to export your content from Content Fusion, there is actually no export because the content it's always in your repository together with its history, and the publishing configuration is stored in a DITA project file that is defined by the DITA OT team. Also, in terms of interoperability with Git repositories, currently Content Fusion works with any Git repository provider like GitHub, GitLab, Azure DevOps, Bitbucket, and so on. You have to configure it to use a service account to connect to that Git repository, and currently Content Fusion supports authentication with password or personal access token. We have plans to add support for SSH keys, but this will be added based on your feedback. If you have some internal security constraints that you have to use SSH keys, please let us know. Another interesting thing about Content Fusion projects is that the source of truth for your content remains your Git repository, which is, for example, stored on GitHub or GitHub Enterprise. So you don't have to migrate the project to Content Fusion. You just link the project from Content Fusion, and Content Fusion will become like a new client for your main Git repository. So your authors can continue to use oxygenxml editor for editing. CI jobs like Jenkins jobs that produce your custom outputs will continue to work with your Git repository. GitHub Actions, if you use them, for example, to run validation scenarios, will still run. So you don't have to to compromise anything if you just want to try the Content Fusion project feature. Some more technical details about the Git integration is that Content Fusion acts as a read-only clone that pulls changes from the upstream repository. One limitation that we have right now is that only one branch of the project is synchronized. We plan to add at some point support to work with multiple branches. Content Fusion has a policy to pull changes from your upstream Git repository in order to keep its local clone up to date. If this heuristic is not enough, users can use a synchronize button to be able to force a synchronization. So for example, every time I open a project, there is a synchronization that takes place, but if I see that I create a file in this tab, and when I switch here, the file is not present, I can just click the synchronize button and it will appear. So basically the Content Fusion will be always up to date. And Content Fusion also pushes some changes to the upstream repository with several occasions. So changes that are made to the DITA project file I will talk about the DITA project file a bit later, will be pushed to the upstream repository, and actually it will overwrite any changes that you made in the upstream repository. This DITA project file is considered a configuration file for Content Fusion and should be managed by Content Fusion. Also, Content Fusion will push to the main Git repository all the review tasks when they are integrated. So while a task is in progress, so when reviewers make comments, the task is kept local in Content Fusion, but when you decide to integrate it, then all the changes made by the reviewers and comments will be pushed to the main Git repository. Yeah, so review tasks will be grouped in projects. So in theory, you have a project that this project can be decomposed in tasks, and with this projects feature, we just materialized the project concept in the Content Fusion server. So some benefits of having the review tasks grouped in a project is, as I told before, there is no need for lengthy uploads with the entire data map. The task history is available in the main Git repository, as I showed here, so you can see what changes were made in each review task. It is easier to choose the context publication. So when you create a review task, let's say I want to add this file, the context publication can be chosen from a drop-down menu. And another interesting thing is that authors will be able to see all the review tasks that were created for a project, even if they not participate in that review task. So this way they can get a sense of the progress that is made on various review tasks. They can, for example, ask the owner to transfer ownership to them and so on. So for example, the project manager for a project can will have the author role, and will be able to see all the review tasks that are in progress, and for example decide when the project is good to be released because all the review tasks were integrated. Okay, and now let's talk a bit about the DITA project. So DITA project is an XML-based file format that is used to define the components of a DITA project. It introduces some concepts, for example, a publication, which consists of a DITA map and filters pair. This represents a logical publication. For example, the user guide for oxygenxml editor or the administrator guide for oxygenxml editor. But it doesn't have the concrete. It is not the concrete publication, the concrete output, because from this logical publication you can, for example, generate a PDF. You can generate web help, you can generate some embedded help for your application, and so on. And this publication is used, for example, in the web editor to resolve keyrefs, because it contains a DITA map and filters, and once you know the DITA map and filters, you know every key reference, you know the target of a key reference. And it is also used as a base for defining deliverables. Deliverables are based on a publication, and they add an actual publishing format like PDF or web help. And the underlying element in the DITA project file is context. This is a technical details in case you are technical detail in case you are familiar with the DITA project structure. The other concept is deliverable. So it consists of a publication and an output type, which can be in this Content Fusion version, it can be PDF or web help. And this maps to the deliverable element in the DITA project file. Now, if we go to Content Fusion, so here is the Oxygen user guide, which is the DITA project from which we derive the output, the manual for all of our products. So here I define the publication, which is Oxygen Content Fusion Manual. It has the DITA map specified by this path and the DITA val specified by this path. So I can create, for example, a new publication, Oxygen XML web author. With our documentation, we use a single DITA map, but we use multiple DITA val files. So here, for web author, we just change the DITA val file. So I can click create, and yeah, and a new publication is defined. And now let's say I want to create a review task. I can click this to review task, and when I choose the context publication, I can choose whether the reviewers will see this topic as it will be included in the Oxygen Content Fusion manual or in Oxygen XML Web Author manual. So when they are, for example, we have a key which is whose name is product. If I choose this, they will see Content Fusion every time the key is used in our content. Okay, so I will not create a review task because that's not what I planned to show you. But I want to show you how the deliverables work. So here, for a deliverable, if I edit it, so it has a name, it has a publication, which is for which we generate a deliverable. It has a build schedule, so you can schedule it, for example, to build every night the document, the manual. So this is helpful if you have a very large builds that take a lot of time. You can schedule them to be built every night. If you have some smaller publications, you can choose to build them every time there is a change in the source repository. You can choose the type, whether it's webhelp or PDF, and then you can choose a publishing template. Here I chose a publishing template which is saved in the Git repository. This publishing template was created with oxygenxml editor. This publishing template is basically a configuration package with let me try to show you how it works. So oxygen user guide, DITA, no, it's not in DITA, it's in the publishing template, content fusion. So is this file when you, for example, you have a preview image, you have some custom CSS files, some more custom files, you can control the fav icon, you can define some fragments that you include in the web help, and also you can control the PDF output, how the PDF output looks like. So this is one way to configure publishing, and there is also a simpler way in which you use a built-in template from our templates gallery. So here we have several templates, and you can click here see web help to see how this template looks like. So yeah, so it's this is a web help for some space exploration documentation that is published with this template. And if you want, you can modify one of these templates using our styles basket tool, which is also integrated in Content Fusion. So I can create a custom template, and this for this custom template, I can click to edit it, and it will be loaded in the Oxygen styles basket. And here I can choose, for example, the color for labels or the color for titles, and these colors will be applied here in a preview, and when I click finish I can save these changes to my custom template. This styles basket is very powerful for customizing the output. It has a lot of so it handles some aspects like the code font, the color theme for syntax highlighting, for tables, for example, the style of the table, the how wide the board, how thick the borders will be, uh, what colors to use for the table, to color everything with another color, to have only the header colored, or so on. Yes, so it has a lot of aspects, and you get to choose among some good stylings for each of these aspects. Okay, and once you So here, once you configure a deliverable, you will have a build started, and you also have a history of past builds. So here I can click to download the web help version of the Content Fusion manual, and I will get an archive that I can, for example, extract it here. And then I can open index.html, and here I can see how the manual looks like. And if I want, I can take this folder and upload it to a file server, and the users will be able to access this documentation. Okay. Now, so regarding, I got a bit ahead of the slides, so I'm looking to see whether I missed something. So some benefits for using Style Basket is that you don't have to write any code like XSLT or CSS. You have a live preview to see how the changes will impact your output. And one very important thing is that if you choose to have a particular style for tables, the same style will be applied in both PDF and web help. Okay. Now, related to our future plans, there will be a full release of Content Fusion 6.0 at the end of October. It will contain a lot of bug fixes that we identify in this beta release. We will polish. We will also take some time to polish the user experience, but the main features will be these ones that are presented in this beta version and in this webinar. After this release, we will try to bring more features to Content Fusion. We follow the docs as code philosophy, so some interesting features in this area are the ability to manage multiple branches, or to use Git submodules to manage larger projects. One limitation that you currently have with in this beta version of Content Fusion is that inside the project you can see the files and you can open them, but they will be read-only. You can only start a review task from this file. You cannot edit it directly, and the edits go to the main Git repository. We plan to also add a way to make small changes to the files that go directly to the main Git repository, because sometimes you just notice a typo and you want to fix it right there, instead of clicking start a review task, give it a title, task 01, choose a context publication, create. Maybe I want to delete this as KRM preparation. And now I can close the review, start integrating, and then finish integration. And my change will then be available in the project. So yeah, the S disappeared, but so we plan to simplify this workflow. We also want to look at what happens after we generate the zip archive with the web help output. Maybe we can host it ourselves on Content Fusion so that you can preview how it looks like without having to download it, or integrate with some content delivery networks so that you can push it directly to production. We are also thinking to add some validation reports that shows you how basically the health of your project. How many validation errors do you have, or warnings. Also some refactoring actions, and also if you want to suggest a feature, just feel free to write it in the webinar questions form, or send it to us via support@oxygenxml.com. At this point, my colleague Aline has another poll for you, which is related to some features that we want to see whether you would like to see them in the next Fusion version or not. Okay, so the most important one seems to be the due date for review task, then support for multiple branches. The third most important is to generate validation reports, and the last one with 50% of the audience is to provide a cloud version for Content Fusion. Thank you for sharing this feedback. And yeah, now this concludes my presentation, and we can spend some time answering some of your questions.
Thank you, Christian, for your great showcase of the existing features for the beta version of Content Fusion 6. As you mentioned, let's jump to the questions panel. I will address them in chronological order so you can answer our audience. Do you have to create the branch first, or does Content Fusion create the branch for you?
Content Fusion will import an already created branch for the project, but when it comes to review tasks, the branch will be automatically created by Content Fusion behind the scenes.
Okay, let's go to the next question that also has a little bit of context. As an editor, I have been using the diff feature to compare before editing and after editing versions. Does the diff feature continue to work the same way? And as a context, as integrating the changes is performed by writers, I seldom get visibility into that aspect. So the question is, does the diff feature continue to work the same way?
Yes, the diff, we are not removing any feature. So if you are referring to this diff version in the task activity, then it is still present in this new version of Content Fusion.
I think the next question you already addressed in the poll, in the last poll section. Can you set a date for closing the review?
This is currently not possible. It is a feature that was requested by many of our clients, and we will add it in a future release. So it was also the most requested one in the poll today. Yes, so we plan to add this feature.
Next, we have Alan's question. We use Azure DevOps for our Git repository. Will this still work?
Yes, so Content Fusion uses the Git protocol currently with username and password or personal access token. So it will work. The nice thing is that if you are using a personal access token, only the system administrator has to configure this personal access token. Then the authors will just select the Git account from a combo box. So for example, if I create a new project, I can choose here gitlab.com and then no, it's gitlab.com, and then here I have a combo box which says which Git account to use. I can have a GitLab account and the Azure DevOps account and so on. And the details of this account, like the user and the personal access token, are configured by the system administrator in the administration graphical user interface.
The next question comes from Danielle. Can the PDF and the web help be customized to maintain the corporate look?
To maintain what? Can you repeat a bit? I think it was.
Can the PDF and the web help be customized to maintain the corporate look?
Okay.
Yeah.
The PDF and web help can be customized via Oxygen Styles Basket. So it allows you to choose some of the colors to provide a logo and so on. If you have a very specific way in which the output should look like, you may need to write custom CSS and to choose the publishing template version. So basically, it is the same web help that and the same PDF output. So it is the same web help that we have in oxygenxml editor that you can publish from oxygenxml editor, and the same publishing template mechanism. So yeah, they can be customized. Only one thing that you have to keep in mind, if you use custom CSS or custom XSLT code, there might be compatibility issues when when the underlying DITA will be updated. So the safest way is to stick with styles basket, and if you agree to update these CSS styles from time to time, like once a year, then you can go with a custom publishing template.
The next question sounds like this. Many of us already work in Git and have our own branching strategy. Will this functionality conflict with that? Can the Git branching built into Content Fusion be turned off?
Content Fusion does not push any new branch on the main Git repository. It only pushes the commits and a merge commit for the review tasks that are created from Content Fusion. If you basically the branching strategy of Git of Content Fusion is to use like feature branches created from the main branch and integrated back in the main branch. If you don't want to use this branching strategy, and you want to use a different one, we can we can discuss over email to understand better your use case. But one simple workaround is to not create review tasks if you from the project, if you don't want them to be, or at least you can create them but not integrate them. So for example, when you are in this state, so you have a review task that is that was closed, the review was addressed. So here it's in the start integrating phase. I can go here and click the download button, and then I will download an archive with the content of this review task, which includes these modified files. So from this point, I can integrate it myself using whatever branching strategy I want. But if we understand the different your use case better, we can add more specific support in Content Fusion.
Thank you, Christian. Okay, let's go to the next question that begins with feedback from Manfred. Great job as usual, everyone. Is
Thank you.
Content Fusion able to connect with the oxygenxml SharePoint plugin now or in the future?
The project's feature of Content Fusion is designed to work around Git. So this we don't have plans to support projects stored on SharePoint. You may be able to migrate from SharePoint to Git and use this feature if you consider it. What you can do is to use the standalone review tasks as they were available in version 5.1, and they are still available in this form in this new version. So when I showed you here that I can drag and drop files from the DITA Maps Manager, these files are from my local drive, but this should work with a WebDAV server, for example, and we have also clients that use some CCMS to store these files. So it should work also with SharePoint.
This next question comes from Scott. We have over 120 authors worldwide. Would it make sense to have higher level managers use the author license and the other authors just stay as subject matter experts?
Yes. So if someone has an author license, they will be able to create a review task inside the project, and they will also be able to work with the published output. So if they have a subject matter expert license, they will just be able to create standalone review tasks that are not part of the review project. So if they find value in creating review tasks inside the project, they can consider buying an author seat. Otherwise, they can use the subject matter expert role.
Teresa asked us, can we connect Content Fusion to multiple Git repositories, one per project?
Yes.
Okay, let's go to the next question. We have at least 50 different publication maps. Would it make sense to create a project for each and then authors could create multiple review tasks against their particular publication?
Um, You can create a single project and create multiple publications inside that project. This is the way we designed it. If yes, so there is no limitation in the number of publications that are stored in the same repository. Yeah, I think that's the answer.
Okay, thank you. I think this comes as a follow-up question. What if we store our publication templates in a different repository than our content, or is it loaded from the framework that we upload in the admin console?
Currently, we have just these two options to store, to get the publishing template from the either from the built-in template gallery or from the same Git repository. We can consider this as a feature request. So I will note this feature request and we will think about it.
And the last question that was asked, if I have many records in the review tasks, it will be nice to have filters and search logic on this page. What do you think of this? Also the same for the publications and projects pages.
So if there are many review tasks, you may want to search for a particular one. Yeah, one step in this direction is to hide by default the review tasks that are integrated, and we also plan at some point to add more filters, sorting, and so on to this list. Actually is not in the beta version, but in the released version, in 6.0 version, the list of tasks is actually a table with several columns. So we are making steps in this direction. But I will record your vote for this feature request to add a filter.
Okay. Oh, sorry.
Yeah. For projects and publications, it also makes sense to add filters. I think for review tasks is more important because review tasks tend to be more numerous.
I think that this concludes our questions for today. I will be taking control now. Again, thank you, Christian, and also Mihai for helping us behind the scenes with our audience's questions. I want to remind everyone that this webinar was recorded and that you will find the recording along with Christian's presentation slides on this event page. And also, if you have any comments or questions regarding today's presentation, you can write to us directly by using the Oxygen feedback commenting platform found at the bottom of this page, or email us, of course, at support@oxygenxml.com. In closing, I want to thank you all for being able to join us today. Of course, I encourage you to take a look at our events page, where you can also find the links to register to our future events that will be published there. For the moment, we don't have them scheduled, but you can find the list of events where we will be in person, so we can have some meet and greets over there. And again, I want to thank you all of you for being able to join us today. I hope you had a great time and that you enjoyed today's live presentation. Again, a big thank you to our today's presenter, Christian Talo, and also a big thank you to Mihai Kwanda that helped us with your questions. Now, until our next live events, make sure to stay safe and have a great summer. Bye-bye.
Bye bye.